Right there, look. Wow, do you know what that is? That's the Japanese common toad. A native species. We're usually used to seeing toads.
Get away.
Oh, no, he's getting up in that hole. Come here. The Brave Wilderness Channel features plenty of dangerous animals. From snapping turtles and grizzly bears to water moccasins and tiger sharks. So trust me when I say that featuring a non-dangerous species is a welcome breath of fresh air. Today we are back on location in Japan. And while I know you are all waiting in heated anticipation for this, here we go. Before we even found the giant hornet, we stumbled upon another one of Japan's giants that is far less painful to interact with. Toad!
Where?
Right there, look. Wow, do you know what that is?
That's a big toad.
It is a big toad. That's the Japanese common toad. A native species. We're usually used to seeing toads.
He's getting away.
Oh no, he's getting up in that hole. Come here. Oh, buddy. Look at you. Oh, hear that little chirping?
Aw.
Wow! Holy mackerel, that is a cool looking toad. Okay, I think we definitely need to film a segment with this one. Here, let's step back just a little bit onto the trail and get it into a controlled situation. Wow! How about that? That is the Japanese toad, one of the coolest looking amphibians that you will find here in this country. And it's a pretty good size too. Now when we're talking toads, the females oftentimes grow larger than the males. To be honest with you guys, I can't tell if this is a male or a female because they can get bigger than this. And look at the coloration, so distinct. Look at that bright gold that runs all over the body, the black speckles, and I love this dark line that runs just behind the ear and down to the belly. And speaking of the belly, check this out. Come here, little toad. Look at the speckling on the belly.
Oh, wow. Look at that pattern.
Pretty cool looking, right? Oh, look at that pudgy little belly. Now, these toads are opportunistic feeders, and they will eat pretty much any little small arthropod or crustacean that they come across in the forest. And these toads are always out on the move, and you can see this toad is just gonna climb here. I'm gonna let it climb from hand to hand. That's gonna be easier. It wants to move. You see how they climb oftentimes as compared to hopping. Hopping is usually used by toads to escape from a predator quickly. And in this instance, the toad is just feeling, all right, I'm gonna climb from spot to spot up the mountain of Coyote's hands. Now they have incredible eyesight both during the day and at night. And in a very heavily canopied forest like this toad is gonna be hunting at any opportunity that it gets. Now when it comes to predators, most things avoid toads because, as we know, they are poisonous, and that poison comes from the parotoid glands. And this one's got some pretty prominent glands just above the ears there. You can actually see the little pores. Now, if this toad was feeling extremely stressed, or let's say I was an actual predator that was trying to eat it and I bit down on the toad, it would secrete that poison, which of course is toxic and has a very, very nasty taste. But this toad is feeling very calm right now, and I just love the bumpiness to the toad's skin. And what's really unique about this species specifically is that during the breeding season, the male's skin will actually get smooth, so it would look more like a frog. Look at those forelimbs. Oh, buddy, I see it.
Like a Popeye toad.
It is, and it's starting to puff up now. It's saying, all right, just let me back up into the forest. But before we do, look at these legs. Strong, muscular legs. You can see those rear feet there have a little bit of webbing, and unlike frogs, toads are primarily terrestrial, which means they're moving through the forest, over logs, over rocks, and they're excellent climbers. A toad like this, when it needs to hide or if it wants to sleep, it will burrow down probably up under a rock, like where we saw it. That could be this toad's territory. Had perfect opportunity with some water flowing through there, lots of plants, lots of soft mud, a perfect place to search for food, and of course to hide or sleep.
So, are these toads common, Coyote?
Yes, in fact, they're oftentimes called the common Japanese toad. Of course, us being able to find one was, just right place, right time, but from what I know, yes, this is a fairly common species. And despite the fact that it's gold in coloration, let me turn it like that. Take a good look at the color of that toad. It still manages to hide incredibly well amongst all the fallen pine needles and the light and the shadows. Now, one thing that I often notice with toads is they have a tendency to pee on you. And of course, that is a defense mechanism to get something to let go of it. But so far, this toad has not peed at all.
It's been talking to you, though.
Yeah, it's a little talkative. Oh, and as soon as I say that, the toad just opens up, and that's a lot of toad pee. Now, I'm not worried about this animal becoming dehydrated because if you can hear, there's a river in the background and this environment is incredibly saturated. But at this juncture, the toad is pretty much saying, okay, I've had enough time in front of the cameras. Please place me back into the forest, which is exactly what we're gonna do. But how cool is this? Coming across Bufo japanicus, one of the coolest amphibians in all of Japan. I'm Coyote Peterson. Be brave. Stay wild. We'll see you on the next adventure. Definitely gonna need to wash my hands. All across the planet, toads seem to hop across our paths. And I seem to never lose my excitement for these fascinating terrestrial amphibians. The Japanese giant toad is without question the most brilliantly decorated species we have ever encountered. These adorable, yet potentially toxic animals are for the most part completely safe to interact with. And despite their warty appearance, they cannot give you warts. However, if you do catch and admire a toad, no matter what the species, always wash your hands after you have released it back into the wild.
Hey, Coyote Pack! Have you enjoyed watching coyotes climb up the insect sting pain index? Learn more about these thrilling and painful adventures in Coyote's new book, The King of Sting. It swarms into bookstores November 27th, but you can pre-order your copy today. Just look for the link in the description below.
If you hop with excitement for toads, make sure to go back and watch the episode where I show you what happens when you squeeze the parotid gland of a cane toad. Gross! And don't forget, subscribe, then click the notification bell so you can join me and the crew on our next wild adventure.